Welcome to the second episode of Ethical Consumption, a series on ethics and awareness of systems when making choices as a digital consumer. Of course, there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. What I'm recommending here is one or more of the best choices for a use case given the present post-industrial mode of production within which we all live and suffer. In the first episode, we talked about internet browsers, how most of them are garbage, but there is a handful of shining beacons out there that respect both your privacy as well as your need for usability, and neither benefit nor overly rely on corporate infrastructures or APIs. True, free, and Libra open source. In this episode, we are following the natural progression onto search engines, talking about search engines, which search engines are bad, and which are... Okay, this is not going to be nearly as positive a video. I'm just giving you the heads up because there aren't really any particularly good search engines out there. Every single search engine actually kind of sucks in many different ways. But I'll at least tell you what I've learned so that you can make an informed choice about which one or ones works best for you. Which search engines suit your needs, and just as importantly, which ones you can stand to feed your data. Because search engines are big data, huge data. Apart from social media, search engines are probably the biggest source of data that corporations have on you, that they use to make money off of you and manipulate you. And by you, I mean the consumer population, the gestalt of the population, not necessarily just the individual. It is a huge problem. Crappy products get to sell for several times the cost of their better competitors because they can afford to be prioritized, what with shit like Google AdSense. People like Donald Trump win elections because of their manipulation through their purchasing power of algorithms to target people who are vulnerable to their propaganda. So it's important to at least minimize the data collected by your search engine. You don't need me to tell you how much can be learned about you by your search history, right? It's a meme unto itself, isn't it? What you want me to tell you is, which search engines don't collect any data at all on you? Well, the answer might surprise you, or rather, the lack of answers. The first answer you might already have springing to mind is DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo claims to be a privacy-respecting search engine, and is the most popular of its kind out there, but there's some issues with it. One is that DuckDuckGo has been caught giving away user information. You see, they have a business partner. You might have heard of it. Its name is Microsoft. And DuckDuckGo has been caught allowing this little company called Microsoft's trackers to continue to work on their search engine. So that's pretty bad. And here's the other really important thing, though, that will be a commonality for almost every search engine that we discuss in this video. DuckDuckGo doesn't use its own web crawlers. That is, programs that scour the web for web pages to put in its database. It doesn't, therefore, present you with its own search results. Where does it get these search results? Well, it gets them from Bing. You know, Microsoft. With bang tags, it can get them from Google, too, if you like. Or Quant, which also gets its search results from Bing. Or StartPage, which gets its search results from Google. Or Ecosia, which gets its search results from Bing. Are you starting to see a pattern? Almost every private search engine gets its results by taking your request as well as your location and sending it to Google or Bing. And yes, it does need to send your location so that you don't get search results from some random other part of the world, talking about places that you've never been to in a language that you might not speak. And that is the potential downfall of one solution to this, which is decentralized web searches. Things like Cirx and Yasi also get their search results from, ultimately, Google and or Bing. But because they're decentralized, they don't send Google or Bing your location. They send the location of the decentralized server. Now, you could make sure that you get your search queries that are relevant to your location and your language by self-hosting Cirx, which would, in some respects, kind of defeat the purpose, since you're still sending your IP address and your search query to these corporations anyhow, just via Cirx, which is living in your home, rather than through your internet browser, which also lives in your home. Another solution would be to hope to find a server that is located not too far from where you live so that you still get relevant search results without giving Google or Bing knowledge of exactly where you are. But even if you manage to do this, you must realize that you are still feeding Google and Bing usable information. Maybe it's not information that they can directly connect to you as a human being, just like with DuckDuckGo, but remember, this isn't about you. We aren't just talking about privacy here, we're talking about ethics. Google and Microsoft allow these solutions to exist because, well, it doesn't actually hurt them. They truly don't actually care about you as a person, I'm sorry to say. They care about the Gestalt population. They're all about trends. For example, if me and all my comrades living in the same city get on DuckDuckGo and start web searching for open source intelligence on the security of local corporate offices, that's information that Microsoft is still getting and can utilize in partnership with advertisers, governments, and probably those targeted corporations as well. They still have exactly the same amount of control as they would knowing that Comrade Ferret wants to hack BioWare. So is there a way that Comrade Ferret and its comrades can do open source intelligence sleuthing on BioWare without letting Google, Microsoft, or any other source of global villainy in on it? You might already be wondering yourself, isn't there anyone other than Google or Microsoft that utilizes its own web crawlers to create its own web database as well as its own search results? Why, of course there is. The two big examples are Brave and Mojeek. Now right out of the box, just like in my last video, don't use Brave. Sure, they aren't as big and evil as Google, but I would almost rather you use a solution that uses Google search results since they at least aren't promoting cryptocurrency junk. Brave is also an advertising company, and just like DuckDuckGo, while it doesn't attach your data directly to you, it still bases its business on the sale of trends and metrics. I'm sorry if you're a Brave fan, but I really do not trust this company. So, Mojeek. With Mojeek, we can finally start to talk about one more aspect of search engine ethics that we haven't been able to get into yet, and that is bias in search results. If you use Google and search for, I don't know, Xi Jinping, you're going to be flooded endlessly with results talking about how Xi Jinping is a dictator and a tyrant and is destroying the Chinese economy while simultaneously somehow also being the greatest current threat to the free world. And this is because Google is a large business, which is partnered with other large businesses, which are very invested in the global strength of the imperial economy of the West. The whole reason that Google became so popular in the first place is because of their whole PageRank thing, which catered to these corporate interests. This doesn't necessarily mean that all these billionaires are getting together in board meetings and plotting about Xi Jinping's search results. Although, I don't know, maybe they are. But it is nevertheless a direct result of these class interests being made manifest. The capitalist class is united because they all ultimately want the same thing, that being the perpetuation of their grip upon the international working class, right? So, we want a search engine that isn't a member of this capitalist class, or at least presents search results as if it weren't. And Mojeek does manage this. It has its own crawlers and thus gives its own search results, and its results do seem to be less biased than those of Google or Bing. But it's also less, it's also just less. There's less results, fewer results, if you want to be pedantic, Jesus. Anyway, because Mojeek just isn't as big, and it hasn't been going for literal decades, it hasn't run its crawlers all over the entire internet, and it probably can't keep up with the changes that occur in the new pages that crop up. So if you do go with Mojeek, just be aware that you might not be able to find the results you want, especially if you're looking up something obscure, like how to hack BioWare. Okay, look, I just want Tally to not look like a plain-ass human under that mask, because that's so much to ask. Where are all my furry Mass Effect races, BioWare? The Gazin from Ringworld are right there, and everyone just rips them off anyway. Just do it, BioWare. Just give me my goddamn furries, just... Okay, sorry. sorry. I'm okay. So what search engine should you use if you want to be as ethical an internet consumer as possible? Not just for your own privacy, but to do your own tiny little part to push the world in a better direction, to disempower the large corporations who rule it, and perhaps even empower your own fellow proletarians. And the answer, as you may have guessed, is not so cut and dry, and it really does depend on your use case. You may want to start with Mojik to completely avoid big corporations and to get those nice unbiased search results for something that you are vaguely interested or a broad question you might have. Then, if you want more results and maybe don't terribly care that half your results are in French, use a Cirx instance. And then after that, try one of the more commonly known privacy-focused search engines, which you should be aware now is basically just like using Bing with a VPN. So there isn't really a perfect solution, but I'm sure you want to know what I use personally. Now, I go with Ecosia on top of a VPN. Ecosia is one of those like DuckDuckGo, giving you Bing search results, though to my knowledge it hasn't allowed Microsoft's trackers to target its users, so that's a plus. It's pretty open about the fact that it does indeed share your location and your search request with Microsoft in order to fetch your results, because although it is as much, if not more, of a privacy-focused browser as DuckDuckGo or StartPage, that isn't actually its real claim to fame. No, the cool thing about Ecosia is that they're a non-profit that spends around 5/6 of its revenue that doesn't go towards taxes and operational costs on tree planting, nature reserve funds, and other green investments. Like everyone else, they make their money on ads, which you don't need to click in order to earn them revenue, so simply by searching stuff, you're getting trees planted. So whether reforestation is your top priority or not, it's kind of cool, and means that at least a good chunk of the money that you're making this organization is going to a good cost. But that's all for this one. I hope I taught you something. Like and subscribe if I did. I do more ethical consumption stuff, open source tech stuff, Marxist stuff, media analysis, kind of just whatever I feel like doing that fits into the same sort of practical progressive vibe. And as always, let me know in the comments if you think of something you'd like me to talk about next on ethical consumption. Remember that there is no ethical consumption under capitalism, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try, at least until we can rise up and free ourselves from the shackles of corporate exploitation. Bye now.